We saw a bonfire burning blue, but the flames made no heat. At first, we didn't question it. Out there, in a forest that had already stripped us of direction, time, and any sense of distance, it almost made sense that something impossible would be waiting. A fire meant people. People meant a way out. Our brains reached for that logic before anything else could interfere. "It's a camp," Daniel said, too quickly. "Has to be." Mira didn't answer. She stood very still beside me, her breath shallow, her eyes fixed on the glow between the trees. The light was wrong. Not just the color, though that alone should have been enough, but the way it behaved. The blue didn't flicker across the forest. It stayed contained, hugging the clearing as if it had weight, as if it didn't want to spread. We'd been lost for hours. The trail had dissolved into nothing sometime after sunset. 1 minute we were following a narrow ribbon of dirt, the next it was gone, swallowed by pine needles and fog that rolled in too fast, too thick. Our phones lost signal. The compass needle spun like it had forgotten what north was. We argued. We doubled back. We got turned around again. And then, through the trees, we saw the light. "Someone's there," Daniel said, stepping forward. "Wait," Mira said. She caught his sleeve, not hard, but enough. "Look at it." We did. The flames rose in slow, deliberate folds, like something underwater. No sparks, no smoke, no sound, just a steady, unnatural burn. And no heat. Even from a distance, we should have felt something. A hint of warmth against our faces, a change in the air. But the cold around us remained absolute. Deep, creeping, wrong. "It's just far," Daniel said, though he didn't sound convinced. "It's not," Mira replied. "It's right there." She was right. It wasn't far. It only looked that way, as if the space between us and the fire had been stretched thin. I took a step forward. The ground shifted under my boot. Not physically, but in feeling. The forest behind us seemed to dim, while the blue light sharpened, pulling attention, narrowing the world down to that single point. "Don't go in," Mira said quietly. "I'm not," I answered. "Just closer." Daniel followed. Mira hesitated, then came after us. The closer we got, the quieter the forest became. Not just silent, emptied. No insects, no wind. Even our footsteps felt muffled, like the earth was absorbing the sound before it could travel. And beneath that silence, something else crept in. A sensation of being noticed, not watched from a direction, but acknowledged from everywhere at once. The clearing revealed itself all at once. A perfect circle of bare earth, smooth and dark, as if it had been worn down over years, or pressed flat by something heavy and unmoving. The trees around it leaned inward, their branches stopping just short of the light. At the center, the fire burned. Up close, it was worse. The blue wasn't uniform. It deepened toward the core, shifting in tone, revealing movement within it. Shapes that almost formed patterns before dissolving again. "Do you see that?" I whispered. Daniel nodded slowly. "It's like figures." "Don't say that," Mira said sharply. "Don't give it a shape." The flames leaned toward us. The motion was subtle, but intentional. A slow tilt, as if the fire had become aware of our presence and adjusted itself to face us. I felt something brush against my mind. Not a thought, not a voice, but an impression. Cold, patient, curious. "There's no wood," Daniel said suddenly. He was right. No logs, no kindling, nothing feeding the fire at all. It burned from the ground itself, rising out of bare earth that showed no sign of ash or charring. "How is it even?" he started. "Don't," Mira said again. Her voice trembled now. "We shouldn't be here." I stepped closer to the edge of the light. The temperature dropped instantly. It wasn't just cold, it was invasive. It slipped through layers into skin, into bone. My breath came out in a thick, pale fog. "No heat," I said. "That's not a fire," Mira whispered. The flames shifted again. This time they opened. Not physically, but the shapes inside them aligned, stretching, becoming clearer. Faces, Dozens. Maybe more. Not fully formed, but unmistakable. Hollow eyes, open mouths, features pressed into the blue like something trying to push through from the other side. I stumbled back. No. They're inside it, Mira said. It's not burning them. It's holding them. A sound rose from the fire. Soft at first. A layered murmur. Like distant voices overlapping in a language just beyond comprehension. Daniel leaned forward slightly, straining to hear. Do you understand that? He asked. No, I said quickly, but part of me almost did. The voices grew louder, aligning, collapsing into a single word that repeated, over and over, in a chorus that vibrated through the air. Stay. The light expanded. Just an inch, but enough to notice. Mira grabbed my arm. It's moving. It's moving, she repeated. The boundary of blue crept outward again, slow and deliberate, as if testing the space between us. Back up, I said. Daniel didn't. He stood frozen, staring into the fire, his face lit in that unnatural glow. Daniel, Mira said, move. They're cold, he murmured. What? They're so cold, he said, voice distant. They want. The flame reacted. A thin strand of blue extended from the fire, stretching toward him like a filament. It hovered for a moment, trembling slightly, as if sensing him. Don't let it touch you, Mira shouted. Too late. The filament brushed his sleeve. Daniel gasped. Not from heat, but from something far worse. His body jerked, his breath catching as frost bloomed across the fabric where it had made contact. The strand snapped back into the fire. Something followed it. A shadow peeled away from Daniel's feet. It lifted slowly, stretching upward, thinning as it rose, until it slipped into the blue and vanished among the shifting shapes. Daniel swayed. I feel, he whispered. Empty. The faces in the fire turned. All of them, toward us. The voices deepened, growing louder, clearer, more. The light surged forward another inch. Mira pulled me back. Run. Daniel, I started. He took a step forward. Daniel, stop. He didn't hear me, or he didn't care. They need help, he said softly. They're trapped. That's not help, Mira said. That's. The fire reached him. This time it didn't hesitate. The blue washed over his boots, his legs, climbing upward like liquid light. It didn't burn. Consumed. Daniel! I lunged forward, but Mira held me back with surprising strength. Don't, she said. If you touch it. His skin turned pale, then translucent, then gone. Not vanished. Rewritten. The flames swelled, reshaping themselves. A new face formed among the others, struggling for definition before settling into place. Daniel's eyes were wide. His mouth moved. No sound came out. The fire dimmed slightly as if satisfied. The voices quieted. Go, Mira said, her voice breaking. We ran. The forest seemed to resist us, branches catching, fog thickening, the ground uneven and treacherous. Behind us, the blue light pulsed once, then steadied. We didn't stop until the trees thinned and the distant sound of a road broke through the silence. We never found the trail. We never found our way back to that clearing. But sometimes, when the night is too quiet, I feel it again. That same invasive cold, settling into my bones. And I realized something we didn't understand then. It wasn't just a fire. It was a signal. A place where something gathers what the forest takes. A boundary. A mouth. And sometimes, in the corner of my vision, I see a faint blue glow, small, distant, but unmistakable. Closer than it should be. Waiting for me to get lost again. The forest echoed with footsteps that didn't match our pace. At first, it was easy to ignore. We were already on edge, lost somewhere off-trail with daylight thinning into that gray, directionless hour where the forest stops feeling like a place and starts feeling like a presence. Our boots pressed into damp soil, leaves sticking to the soles, branches brushing too close, as if the trees had leaned inward while we weren't looking. So when the echo came, it folded neatly into everything else that felt wrong. Step, step, a half-second delay. Then, step, step, not quite in sync, not quite off. Just echo, Daniel said behind me, adjusting his pack. Happens in dense woods like this. It's not cliffs, Mira replied. She didn't turn around. She kept walking, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. What's it bouncing off of? Trees, he said. Ground. I don't know. I didn't say anything. I just listened. Step, 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 step. The second pair came again, but slightly faster this time, closing the gap between ours and theirs. Not enough to notice at first glance, but enough to feel if you paid attention too long. I tried to match it. I slowed my pace. One step. Pause. Behind me, Daniel adjusted automatically. But the echo didn't follow. Came anyway. Step, step. Two clean sounds, crisp and deliberate, falling into the silence like something placed there rather than reflected. I stopped. Mira stopped too. Daniel bumped lightly into me. Why are we? The forest went still. No wind, no insects, no distant birds. Just that suffocating quiet. And then, step. One single footfall. Not ours. Off to the right. We turned at the same time. There was nothing there. Only trees, packed too tightly, their trunks dark and slick with moisture. Fog threaded between them, low and slow, coiling around roots like something alive. Okay, Daniel said, forcing a laugh that didn't land. That echo can bounce weird sometimes. Echoes don't change direction, Mira said. Sound does. That wasn't sound, she said. That was a step. We stood there longer than we should have, all of us listening, waiting for it to happen again. Didn't. Keep moving, I said finally. We need to find the trail before it gets fully dark. Yeah, Daniel said quickly. Yeah, that's good idea. We started walking again. Step, step, and then, almost immediately, step, step, behind us. This time closer. Mira glanced back sharply. Did you hear that? Yes, I said. It's us, Daniel insisted. It's just delayed. No, she said. Listen. We walked again slower. Step, step, a beat. Step, step. But the rhythm wasn't matching. It drifted, adjusting, correcting itself. Sometimes too fast, sometimes too slow, as if it were trying to learn. Okay, Daniel said, more quietly now. That's weird. The fog thickened as we moved deeper. It rolled in from nowhere, swallowing distance, turning the forest into layers of gray and shadow. The trees seemed closer now, their spacing uneven, their shapes subtly wrong. Branches bending at angles that didn't feel natural, trunks leaning just slightly too far. The footsteps continued. Step, 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 step. Now there were moments where it overlapped with ours, falling just slightly out of sync, like someone trying to walk beside us but unable to match the rhythm. I sped up. The sound followed. I slowed down. It adjusted. It wasn't echoing anymore. It was responding. Stop, Mira said suddenly. We stopped. Silence. Then, step, step. 2 steps, clean and deliberate, directly behind us. Daniel turned sharply. Who's there? The word who hung in the air, swallowed by the fog. No answer came, but the forest shifted. Not visibly, not in any way I could point to, but something in the space around us tightened, as if our question had been heard, not by a person, but by the place itself. You shouldn't have said that, Mira whispered. Why not? Daniel snapped. If someone's out there, it's not someone. Then what is it? She didn't answer. We kept walking, but now the tension had changed. It wasn't just unease, it was directionless fear, the kind that doesn't know where to land because it's coming from everywhere at once. The footsteps multiplied. First just slightly. Step, 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 then step, step, step. A third set, faint and uneven, like something smaller or lighter moving just out of sync with the others. Do you hear more than one? I asked. Mira nodded. Daniel didn't respond. He was staring ahead, eyes fixed on something in the fog. What? I asked. I thought I saw, he started, then shook his head. Nothing. The footsteps shifted again. Now they weren't just behind us. One set moved to the left, another to the right, and the original still directly behind but closer than before. They're surrounding us, Mira said. No, Daniel said quickly. No, that's just sound bouncing around. From what? She asked. What's making the original sound? He didn't answer. We walked faster. The forest seemed to close in. Branches snagged at our clothes. Roots rose higher from the ground, catching our boots. The fog thickened until the trees became silhouettes, then shadows, then suggestions of something solid. The footsteps kept pace. Perfectly now. Not trying anymore. Matching. Step, 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 step. I felt it then, a shift. Not in the sound, but in the intent behind it. Before, it had been learning. Now it understood. Stop, I said. We stopped. The footsteps stopped. Not after. Not delayed. At the exact same moment. Daniel's breath hitched. That's no. That's not. Walk, Mira said. We took a step. The footsteps took a step. Perfectly synchronized. Faster, I said. We sped up. So did they. Every movement mirrored. Every shift matched. It wasn't following anymore. It was becoming us. Don't run, Mira said quickly. If we run. Daniel ran. Panic broke whatever thin thread of control we had. He bolted forward into the fog, crashing through underbrush, breath ragged and loud. Daniel, I shouted, chasing after him. Mira followed, swearing under her breath. For a moment, the forest was chaos. Branches snapping, feet pounding, breath tearing through lungs. And beneath it all, more footsteps, not just matching now, multiplying, dozens, running with us, around us, through us. The sound became overwhelming, filling the space so completely that it felt like the ground itself was moving. Stop! Mira screamed. Daniel stumbled, tripping over a root and crashing hard onto the ground. I skidded to a halt beside him, grabbing his arm. The footsteps didn't stop. They kept going, running past us, through the fog, into the trees, until, one by one, they faded into the distance. Silence returned. Heavy, immediate, absolute. Daniel was shaking. They kept going. Mira helped him sit up. They didn't need us to move anymore. What does that mean? I asked. She looked at the forest, her face pale. It means they learned enough. A sound came from ahead. Step. One single footstep. Then another. Step. Slow. Deliberate. Coming toward us. Not echoing. Approaching. Shapes moved in the fog. At first, just distortions, shadows bending where they shouldn't. Then something more defined. Taller than us. Too thin. Limbs slightly too long. Joints bending with a hesitation. As if each movement had to be remembered before it could be performed. They're using it, Mira said, voice barely audible. They're using our sound. The shapes stepped closer. Step, step. Their movements weren't perfect. Not yet, but close enough. Get up, I said. We need to. One of them spoke. My voice. Get up. It came from ahead, slightly warped, like it had been stretched thin. Daniel froze. That's not, he whispered. Another voice answered. Mira's. We need to go. Then another. Daniel's. We need to go. The forest filled with us. Our voices, our footsteps, our rhythms, replayed, rearranged, layered over each other in a chorus that didn't belong to any living thing. The shapes advanced. Each step more confident. Each movement more precise. They're replacing us, Mira said. Or practicing, I said. The nearest shape tilted its head. Took one more step. Perfectly in sync with mine. I hadn't moved. The realization hit too late. It wasn't copying anymore. It was anticipating. Run, Mira said. This time we didn't hesitate. We ran without rhythm, without pattern, stumbling, veering, breaking any sense of pace we could. The forest tore at us, the fog swallowing direction, but we didn't stop. Behind us, the footsteps followed. Not synchronized now, not coordinated, just many, too many. Hours or minutes or seconds, it was impossible to tell. Later, we burst through the trees onto a narrow stretch of road. The sound stopped instantly. The forest stood at the edge of the asphalt, silent and still, as if nothing had ever moved within it. We didn't go back. We didn't speak about it. Not really. But sometimes when I walk alone, on pavement, on gravel, even inside my own apartment, I hear it again. Step, step, perfectly in time, until I stop. And a moment later, step, a single footstep, not mine, learning again.